Find yourself in the Beachview area of Pittsburgh? Check out the official pizza of this show, Slice on Broadway, sharing an abnormal obsession with pizza we can relate to. Check them out at sliceonbroadway.com and tell them this show sent you.
Hungry as fuck, but I ain't starving yet. Chain for the pain, cocktail dog set. Never said I was a gangster or thug, but I'm an animal. Beating for the taste of the fly.
Hey guys, it's the Indy Mayhem Show. I'm Mike Sorg at Sorgatron on Twitter here live in the Mayhem Studios in Pittsburgh, PA. And we got a very special Lucha edition of the Indy Mayhem Show. It's a Lucha Mayhem Show tonight. And we'll get into that here in just a moment. But real quick, go check out all the other shows we have going on at WrestlingMayhemShow.com. And you can subscribe to us on the iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, wherever the hell else, audio and video formats. And check out all the wrestling talk we have going on. And also over on Twitter at Mayhem Show and the Facebook group, and Google Plus as well. And you can also drop us a line if you have any questions for upcoming guests, thoughts on this podcast, or anything else at 412-206-WMS0 or goodtimes at WrestlingMayhemShow.com. So, like I said, we got something special going on this week. Of course, myself, I'm doing some video production here in the Pittsburgh area, but with me, as usual, is Eamon Paton, the voice of Inspire Pro Wrestling, currently down there in San Antonio, Texas, sir.
I am unbelievably excited for tonight, Sorg. Of all the nights, this is going to be really special. I'm very excited.
Right. It'll be better than that time that Jock Sampson told all the promoters where to stick it. But anyways, also with us on the couch, our friend in the mainstream media, the other guy that does TV that's going to be on the show tonight, Matt Carlins.
Awesome to be here. Thanks for letting me tag along on this one. It's going to be fantastic.
And also Mad Mike from Poughkeepsie, New York, the only one, maybe not the only one tonight that has a future endeavor letter from WWE.
I have so many questions. So many questions.
So I wanted to get the guys involved with the midweek war because the guest of honor tonight, of course, is Chris DeJoseph. We finally tracked him down. We got him in the hot seat tonight. The man, the co-producer behind Lucha Underground, the mass sensation that's sweeping the nation. How you doing tonight?
I'm great, man. I'm ready for the midweek war.
I love this so much.
That is amazing.
We will never hear the end of
I'm
this.
officially saying that's canon in the Lucha Underground universe.
All right. Well, we usually start this off by getting to know the person that's on. We usually, indie wrestlers maybe nobody's heard of or anything. But first, I'm curious, Chris, how did you first get into pro wrestling? What was your first memory of pro wrestling?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I think it goes back to when I was a child, going to see wrestling in a high school football stadium, I think. So seeing the Killer Bees, I think my dad took me. Gosh, it goes back a long time. It's just always been something that's been a part of my life and something that I've always been passionate about and enjoyed to watch and go to.
That's great. And of course, you're of course taking on the creative side. You have a story career as far as that side goes. So how did that connect to decide that's what you wanted to go into, that part of it?
Gosh, I came to a point in my life, I think it was like 23, and everybody in my family asked me, you better do something with your life. And I said, I want to go into professional wrestling. And they all looked at me like I was bonkers. But it ended up working out. I went to the WWE. I used to bring my resume there like every day. And I think I was thrown out a few times. And I just kept doing it. Persistence paid off. And eventually I got a shot there as an intern. I got coffee a lot. And then eventually things worked out where I was really just desperate for a full-time job, and I saw a posting in Human Resources for a writer's assistant, and I said I want to do that, and they were like, "Well, we only hire people from Hollywood," things like that. I had been around like indie wrestling, doing like a little minor promotion in Connecticut at the time, and I said, "Well, I can do that," and I wrote a script, and it ended up getting around the office, and next thing you know, they asked me for an interview. And on my interview day, I sat next to the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, in the lobby, and I was like, this is probably the greatest day ever. So if I don't get the job, I'm totally cool with it. And then it just kind of went from there. I worked WWE for like 6 years, and then moved out to LA to do other television shows. And then this opportunity to do Lucha Underground came around.
Awesome. So Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, today was the first day of filming for Lucha Underground Season 2?
Yeah, today was our first official day of filming. So we had a lot of fun. We did really some cool stuff, including a big opening for season 2. So it was quite exciting, and it's good to be back. There was a good vibe, and everything kind of felt like the same vibe as we had in season 1. So everyone was happy to be back to work, and it was fun.
So I'm curious, just on the outside looking in, there was a period of great uncertainty among us who really enjoyed Lucha Underground about whether there was even going to be a season 2. So I'm just curious, like, from where you were sitting, if you had to like draw like the line graph of your confidence in there actually being a season 2 since season 1, what would this look like? Is this a squiggly line, or is this straight up, or kind of what sense were you getting that this was really going to go down?
It was probably a bit of a heart attack at times. It was always kind of up, down, up, down, up, down. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? But I just kind of I trusted that it would. It just took a real long time for it to become official, and that was the frustrating part. But they figured things out, and we're back, and we're ready to do it up again, man.
Let me ask you real quick. When Alberto Del Rio returned to WWE, when was that? A week ago from Sunday? When Alberto Del Rio returned to WWE, how much did that screw things up for you guys?
It didn't really screw anything up for us. I mean, in a way, nobody ever said that was going to happen, but I just always kind of felt like that was going to happen. But we came to a point where, it was a mutual decision from both parties to go our separate ways, and I'm okay with that.
He did have kind of a good send off with ultimately throwing Johnny Mundo in through Dario Cueto's office, just like Mundo did to him. So it was kind of like, it felt like there was closure at the end of Ultima Lucha for his setup too, even though he lost the match. Yeah,
I agree, and I think that's where I think we felt like there was a good breaking point, and it was what it was, and I thank Alberto for being a part of the show. He was a great part of it, but hey, we're ready to move on, man, and we got a lot of other talented guys on this show, and I think you guys know that there are, and especially a lot of young talented guys. So I think that's where we'd like to put our focus on.
Going into sort of Lucha Underground in general, I think a lot of the talking points with the company is that it is a lot of people refer to it as the alternative that a lot of people have been looking for in wrestling. Would you say, what do you think, in your opinion, sets Lucha Underground apart from anything else in professional wrestling nowadays?
I think, God, this is going to sound arrogant, but I think storytelling, a commitment to storytelling, a commitment to giving a payoff to people who invest their time in watching the show. If you invest your time, it's not like we're just going to totally drop the storyline and then you'll just totally forget it ever existed. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we might have to move around and make some changes. We had to with Chavo last year with him getting injured. We had to make some last minute changes going into Ultima Lucha, but we try to pay off everything we can to the best of our ability. I think the other thing is, I think the talent sets it apart. That's another whole thing, and the fact that there's very little politics at Lucha Underground. It's a big team group environment, and everybody has the same goal, and that's to make the most fun, entertaining wrestling show that we can. And then I think third would be the production value. The people from Skip Film and Skip Chasen who directs our backstage vignettes, and even the people from Burnett, they're the best in the world at making TV shows. So it's pretty good to always be surrounded by an A team of people who know what they're doing all the time.
We're always talking about how unique Lucha Underground is. It's like this altered reality. It's like this completely fresh presentation of professional wrestling. Where did this concept come from? Like, how did this kind of germinate and evolve as you guys were putting things together?
Well, I first heard rumblings about it probably 2 Februaries ago, and I was like trying to get my my resume in there, and because I heard, Mark Burnett's making a wrestling show, so I figured, gosh, this is right up my alley. It might be something that I'd be interested in, especially since a while before that I had told myself I'm never going back into the wrestling business. But yeah, never say never. And it ended up, I'd heard some things about it, and I went to a couple meetings, and I heard some of the ideas that were going around, and I kind of gave them my spin on things, and I think Eric Van Wagenen, the executive producer, me and him saw things a lot the same way, and I think they understood that I had, a level of expertise and experience, at least from my time with Vince, and I think that they thought that it was the right fit. I know they had interviewed other people for it, and it just became a process of kind of hashing out ideas. There were original ideas that were on the table, and then we had to take some of those, tweak some of those ideas, but in the end, kind of try to create this world and this environment, and make it its own little universe. So that was always the.
Oh, sorry. So this was like, I remember just a few years before this there, and I know it's like on Hulu, and I actually kind of resurfaced it a little bit, but there was like a Lucha Libre USA that came about, and it didn't seem like it fared very well. Were there concerns about getting into the Lucha Libre kind of thing after? Was that something on the mind, or on when you guys were talking about this?
No, it was definitely on my mind. I mean, that was one of the things that I said from the beginning was like, hey, this has been kind of tried with Wrestling Society X, then Lucha Libre USA. Like, there's kind of a reason that these kind of shows haven't lasted and succeeded. And I was trying to prevent us from being the same, because I think, and I think a lot of people were trying to prevent that from being the same. But, everybody gave their input, and we tried to figure out the best way to steer it and make this show what it was, off the bat, and try to make it work. That's kind of how you notice, in the first probably 9 episodes, we kind of roll out the kind of supernatural and weird stuff, a little bit slower, because I think part of us were a little nervous to hit you right over the head with it. We wanted people to see that it was a wrestling show with some known people, and then start to sprinkle those cool, fantastical elements into the show that make Lucha Underground what it is now.
Yeah, that's kind of
go ahead, Mike.
That's kind of one thing we noticed. Like we were actually just talking about earlier tonight, where you have to kind of do the legwork and establish a universe that you can see things like electric skeleton ninjas being a real thing, or Drago flying away with like a fireball, and then Aerostar following him up with a jetpack. Like, but we watch that, we buy into it completely, and I just want to know, like, did Robert Rodriguez have any input into that? Because I know it's on El Rey and everything, and he's into a lot of like the I know he's into a lot of the Mexican culture with El Mariachi and stuff like that. Did he have any kind of input on it?
Well, I mean, part of his original vision of the show was kind of tied into Mexican culture and mythology. And then we kind of took it and ran with it and kind of mixed all these different worlds. But, I mean, every day when we write those shows and we sit down and make these shows, we think about what Robert would do and how Robert would make the show. Like, everything is done, in our opinion, the way we think that Robert would do it. And, he can't oversee every little thing that we do. He's a busy man, and he's making movies and other TV shows and running his own network. So, he watches the show, he reads the scripts, he gives us input, and that's that's pretty much it. And hopefully, maybe this season, he'll like what we've got too, and it's an exciting show. It's a great show for the network, and we knew that we were trying to use Lucha Underground to help build the El Rey Network and help make the El Rey Network, kind of a household name.
Tell me about you kind of alluded to it there for a second, but like what was your goals, I guess? Like, how did you guys define what would be a success for Lucha Underground during the first season? Were you looking for, I don't know, were you looking for ratings? Were you looking for social media buzz? And how did you kind of measure just how successful you guys were doing your job as season 1 went on?
I mean, I think from the beginning, we just wanted to start to get this out there and start to have people hear about it. We knew right away that we didn't want to be the WWE, and we aren't the WWE, and we don't want to be the WWE. That was one thing that strongly from the very beginning that we were pretty adamant about. But I think we knew that this was going to take some time, and we were going to have to earn the audience trust, and that over time this would hopefully become more and more and more popular. I mean, there were times in the beginning when I was like worried that, oh gosh, I don't know how people are going to respond to this, especially when you're taping so far in advance, because sometimes you have a ninja skeleton and you wonder, like, I wonder how people are going to take this. Are they going to be like, okay, I'm done with watching the show? Or you have a man fly away from the temple as a dragon. So you just kind of.
Were you surprised how much you were able to? Sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say we rolled the dice and hoped that it worked, and we trusted our instincts and trusted our talent, and it ended up working, I think.
Were you surprised with how much you guys were able to get away with?
A little bit. As it went on, I started to think like, gosh, we are really doing some crazy stuff. That it did surprise me. Sometimes I had to pinch myself, be like, man, I can't believe they like this. I thought that maybe they wouldn't. So that's a good thing. I didn't really, honestly, never expected any positive reviews at all, especially usually in kind of the internet wrestling community. It's a generally negative world, and there's lots of negative reviews. But I can see why, because I've watched a lot of the same things that get negative reviews, and I hate them too. So, we just try to do something different and strive to be different. And then once I think we had our own little universe that existed, it's like, I think that it makes it easier as a fan to buy into some of that stuff because it takes place in this world. It doesn't take place in an arena in Milwaukee. It's just like in this, it exists in its own place, and that's kind of cool. It's almost like a little comic book universe where we can now kind of almost, we killed a guy.
Yeah, I was going to say,
you killed a guy.
Has Stryker figured out what happened to Bale yet? Because we're just concerned, like maybe Stryker thinks he's on paid leave or.
Yeah, I don't think the announcers know where Bale is, but unfortunately. His brains are somewhere probably splattered all over the ground or something like that. That was one I was a little worried about, but I said, "Gosh, if we can do this one, we could probably do anything."
Eamon, do you want to jump in here?
I will say I love that you guys kind of took the Marvel method, and right after you see, like, I remember the first episode of Lucha Underground, when I saw the Lucha logo at the end, I turned the DVR off,
right.
And then I had read a review that said something happened after the stinger. I'm like, oh, they're doing Marvel, like Marvel-esque things, like a segment after the end, and that is because that drove the narrative like week to week. It just like kept you in.
Yeah, we wanted to try to stay true and have cliffhangers and fun stuff like that, and really reward the audience for hanging in there and watching the show. I think that was something that was important to us. So now you really can't miss a minute of Lucha Underground because you don't know when something is going to happen. I think we moved pieces around that, you could see a main event in segment one, or you could see different people in the main event. It became kind of, I think we developed our characters pretty well, and that gave us the opportunity to do that.
I was going to say, we mentioned some of the past groups that have done sort of studio style wrestling, like you guys do, like WSX and companies like that. And I remember when I first heard about about Lucha Underground, I thought it was a really cool concept. But I was very trepidatious just because of being involved, like seeing studio wrestling before, and I feel I was obviously definitely proven wrong. For somebody that has worked in WWE, which kind of goes by more of a traditional style of a wrestling show, and now something like Lucha Underground that has that more studio feel, what are sort of the big differences when it comes to putting on a show in those two kind of realms?
Well, obviously we don't have to go live, so we can have mistakes made. We also can edit a lot more time to edit our matches if we need to, or fix things. And our editors do a tremendous job of that. But for the most part, we pretty much capture everything. I think that's a little bit different vibe, but I like the intimate vibe of the temple. It's funny, like when I was at WWE, I once pitched them a Undertaker themed studio show where like the Undertaker was the ruler of this like thing, but they hated it. So, it's kind of neat that I get to do something now, but like kind of like that, now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a cool environment and it's intimate. And I think, in a way it feels like like a fun show that you go to at a high school gym, but it's in a temple and you still got those rabid fans. And it's kind of neat because, we have a cool vibe. Like there could be a celebrity sitting next to the dude who lives down the street. And it's like, it's a cool little thing. People tailgate in the parking lot and drink beers and bottles of rum. And they enjoy Lucha Underground.
So, cut it to that, because another one that sounds like the description of is a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and our buddy Antonio Garza, who's on the Midweek War a good bit. He says apparently during your Reddit AMA, he had asked if you had a chance to check out Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and he thinks you mentioned that most of the people you worked with did, but you hadn't yet. I just wanted to check in to see if you had a chance to check it out or Battle for Los Angeles this year.
Oh, I think that was Eric because I never did a Reddit.
Oh, okay.
But I've gone to PWG quite a few times, and I'm well aware of it and what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you about some of these guys who were on Lucha Underground. A lot of consumers of mainstream pro wrestling in the U.S. didn't know a lot about these guys like Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix and Drago. And now these guys are doing PWG and they're doing all these indie shows in the U.S. You guys helped put these guys on the map here in the U.S. and the States, and now their popularity is soaring right now.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, even with some of the guys, I don't think originally we knew exactly what we had. We knew that we had young stars. That was pretty much, the kind of, in a way, the guys that we requested were some younger people. We definitely wanted a female. So like the original 5 were Pentagon, Phoenix, Drago, Sexy Star, and then Blue Demon, because kind of the original concept of the show is that Dario Cueto was going to go down and buy these luchadors from AAA. And then the show kind of morphed a little bit. We show a little bit of it in the first opening of Lucha Underground. You see Dario kind of purchasing them. But we kind of thought that the characters that we brought from AAA should all be masked. You're introducing Lucha Libre to America, and I think that's one of the first things, an American would think of when they think of Lucha Libre as a masked wrestlers. We thought that was important. We thought one needed to be a female. We needed at least one heel, and then I thought that we needed one kind of established legend, and that was Blue Demon. So, it was a cool little thing, and some of those guys have turned into just megastars. I mean, Pentagon Jr. seems to be like the most popular guy on the whole show now. And he kind of, we slow burned and built him over time, but man, he's a special talent for sure.
Now, you mentioned Dario Cueto.
Yeah.
And I think most of us will agree that if it wasn't for Dario Cueto, the show might not work as well as it does.
Yeah.
How did you find him? Like, was there a casting call, or was this someone that somebody knew, or he just came in, auditioned, and killed it?
We did a casting call. We probably had at least 35 Cuetos that came in. And
you can only imagine.
Everybody's visualizing that right now, by the way.
Yeah. Did they all wear giant keys around their head?
No, they didn't have the key at that point. We had the key in mind, but we didn't let them know. We just gave them a script as Dario Cueto. And our current Dario, Luis Fernandez Gil, he just after watching them back, I think everybody independently of each other, either, me, the other writers, Eric, other producers on the show, everybody sent in Luis's number and was like, hey, this is our top choice. And then here's some other choices. And then I think we brought him in 2 or 3 more times. And in those 2 or 3 times, he just kept getting better and better and better. And I just started believing oh my gosh, I'm in the room with this guy that we imagined he would be. And he's right in front of me. And Luis just kind of stole the show. And that's how he became Dario Cueto, El Jefe.
Going from the side of somebody auditioning for a casting call for a position there, I think another thing that we've been really impressed by is some of the talents with wrestling backgrounds that are on the show that have adapted to sort of that, a lot of the backstage stuff, like the acting that comes with that. Do you have maybe a talent that's there that really impressed you in that realm when it comes to like the backstage sort of vignettes?
Yeah, I think like King Cuerno is really good. Pentagon for sure. I think Pentagon in ring and behind the scenes, he just has this, personality that's just electric. I mean, I'm just trying to think. I think Drago's kind of cool, but I think they have the advantage of playing off of. A lot of times playing off of Dario, it just makes the performance better, because honestly, when we're shooting these things and you see this man in a black suit with a key and his hair slicked back, like you really feel like it's Dario Cueto and he just came out of a bathroom stall, did a bump, and then all of a sudden Drago comes out of another toilet and he's there. It's just like like you really feel like you're in that in that world with him, and that he's really a evil promoter who runs an underground fight club.
So you knew
definitely.
You knew Dario, or you knew the person behind Dario. You knew he could act. Did you know that he could do wrestling? And was there a transition for him in figuring that out, or did he kind of know what to do?
Yeah, it started. I mean, one of the first things I told him, I'm like, is somebody to do this part? I want somebody who's got to be willing at some point. You're probably going to have to take a bump, a different kind of bump, and he was a black belt judo, and we thought that was cool, and then in the beginning he had some growing pains where like he'd kind of be in the ring and maybe like step in front of a wrestler or do something like to Johnny that Johnny didn't like, and it took Luis about probably 2 or 3 episodes before he realized like how to play it and not to try to make the wrestlers necessarily look stupid right in front of them, especially when they're in the ring. But he adapted quick and learned and asked questions, and he just got better and better and better.
All right. I was wondering, is Sexy Star okay? I love the we were talking before you got on the final like Lucha Underground wacky races that you had set up for the end of the season, like everyone going off on their own path, and just how well you guys were able to take Marty the Moth, who was this big Lucha fan who doesn't know how moth wings work, and he's just backstage and he's a big fan, and then he turns into like he just snapped and turned like into an evil psychotic character. Like I see stuff like that on Gotham and Flash now. Like, how did you guys was that always the plan for him, or did that kind of develop when you were working with him more and more?
Yeah, I mean, originally he was kind of psychotic. We took we tried a few things with him in the arena, and we took those out of a few episodes, and then we kind of came up with that scene where he was outside, just sitting outside, and he runs into Mr. Cueto, and then he like runs out of frame, and was telling his story about how he has Aztec blood, and nobody believes him, and he kind of developed, and we had this kind of issue with him and Sexy Star, and we always knew what the end game was. We always knew that Marty had a sister. It was just a matter of when we revealed that. So, it took a little bit of time to get to that point, and we went for it on the finale of Ultimate Lucha.
Awesome. Hey, I want to take a real quick moment to take a quick break here. We'll be right back with a bit more of Chris DeJoseph. And but in the meantime, go check out what happened last week in Sorgatron Media. There's hobos, there's technology, there's great stuff, geeky stuff, and some pro wrestling. Good talk. We'll be right back.
Made a lot of noises, but no language. He liked to bash his head off of things. Bricks, mainly. He would throw bricks up in the air and then jump and smash the brick. He was a interesting fella, Rambo was.
Oh, Chachi is not here, by the way.
Senor Maple Leaf.
Yes, he is.
Ole! It's Halloween. I'm allowed to do this.
Happy Halloween.
I am allowed to do this. I'm sorry, it's really hot under there.
If you've noticed, we have the travelwits.com, which solves the cheapest way to get from A to B, vacations within budget. And one of the problems that seems interesting to us down the road is utilization of hotel points and frequent flyer miles.
The Google Trends fright, guys. Whoa!
So this will tell you what the trending search Halloween costume search trends are. There, if you look at the top above the map, there's a trending nationally.
Zima says it all the time. Be humble. Just be humble, listen. And Zima's one of those guys where I feel like I probably wouldn't be where I am in wrestling if it wasn't for things he said and advice he gave me.
I like to think that Brock Lesnar and Undertaker just have baby fingernails that are like razor sharp. And they just couldn't help it, you know?
All right, check out all that stuff. A little bit of a taster. Damn, I'm going to start.
Delicious.
After 4 shows in a row, I start losing it a little bit. But,
Slice on Broadway.
Slice on. All that slice on. No. We don't advertise that on here. Not as much.
That's Sawtooth Willie.
It's, all right, there's a little bit of what happened last week in Sorgatron Media. Make sure, of course, please check out Sawtooth Willie. He's getting horny this week. And it's a lot of fun there with our Pittsburgh hobo friend and so much more. SorgatronMedia.com. So let's get back to it. And I wanted to take a break and get back into we got questions in the chat room. We had Garza email a couple in I want to make sure we get to here. First of all, Bobby F. J-Town in the chat room. He's saying, as far as Vampiro and Pentagon Jr., and I just watched Ultimate Lucha today, and I couldn't believe. I think that's the first time I've seen light tubes on television. I know I've seen a lot of like Juggalo Championship Wrestling and a little bit of CZW and stuff, but that just kind of blew my mind a little bit there. But he asked, did they know they were going to go as far as they did and go into the crowd, or was that just them kind of taking the match on their own? Was it a surprise for you on your side of things?
Well, we knew that they were going to go in the crowd. That was kind of part of the plan that we knew beforehand. I didn't think they were going to take as long as they did. Mm-hmm. I also didn't think they were going to use as many light tubes as they did. I just had lawyers looking at me the entire time. I'm like, oh, it'll be fine. Everything's cool.
Professionals. They're professionals.
We got this. But in the end, I remember people came to me at first, I'm like, oh boy. After the match was over, I just kind of put my head in my hands, and I think Eric looked at me, and we're just like, oh boy. Then all of a sudden, a bunch of people came back to the control room. Some investors in the show and executives, and they were like, that was amazing. Oh my gosh, you had to be out there. You had to see that, and it was crazy. I mean, it almost was like the audience needed an intermission after something like that. It was brutally violent, but I think in the end it told the right story and told the story that we were trying to tell.
Amazing stuff. And especially for me, I'm very disenchanted with hardcore wrestling as a whole in the last few years, but that just it kind of brought it back around for me for it's done the right way, right? So, also, there's a lot of rumors. Of course, I know we were hearing them, and we talked about a little earlier about how was that kind of back and forth and everything. There was a couple things that Garza wanted to ask about. There was rumors of our season 2 and 3 getting a shot together. Is there any news of a DVD release? I know. I heard Netflix was on the table potentially for a minute there, at least on the rumor mill. Can you dispel or confirm any of those rumors as you can?
No, I can't.
It's all out there in the wind. Garza, I tried.
Sorry, Garza, I like my job too much, so
No problem.
But I do think that there's good things in the future for Lucha Underground.
That's awesome.
Sure. So there may be a way that we could potentially binge watch all of season 1.
There may be.
Good, because I want to do the whole thing and just I want to live tweet the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Everything.
That'll be.
We actually had Bobby do that one weekend. He watched Lucha for a couple hours straight, 6 or 8 hours straight, and just kept going.
Yeah, he looked like he'd been up for 3 days, I think, when I saw that episode. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. But yeah, you guys finally got him on board, which is cool.
It can't be as bad when I tried to do a WrestleMania day for 30 days, because that got rough. That got rough.
That's tough.
Oh, the 90s were so tough. Oh, Lawrence Taylor, no.
Oh, jeez.
I went to WrestleMania 9, so yeah, I feel your pain.
Somehow that's probably the one I watched the most.
I still maintain WrestleMania 9 had the best announced team.
Yeah, I wanted after the show was over, I told my dad I wanted my money back. And then years later, I went to go work for Vince. I told him, I said, hey, I want my refund back for WrestleMania 9 because the way Hogan won the title was total bullshit. And, Bret Hart should have had the title, man, or you should have just kept it on Yoko. And he goes, sorry, I'm not giving you your money back. He's like, I already deposited it. Sorry, man. Too funny.
That's amazing.
Or we spend it on a motorcycle, right? All right. Go ahead. You have one? Go ahead, Matt.
We just mentioned commentary teams. It reminded me I wanted to ask this question. We loved Matt Stryker and Vampiro together on the commentary desk, but I have a feeling that might not be what we get for season 2. Can you kind of shed a little light on what we're going to get at the announce position?
Nope.
Super. Great.
I don't want to spoil anything. You guys would be surprised.
Although I'm kind of okay with like Vampiro just being a dark Jesse Ventura to Matt Stryker, maybe a little bit.
I wish I could let you know, but I don't want to give too many spoilers. Come on now.
No, I like this. I like wrestling with secrets, Sorg. This is good. I like this. This is one of the great things.
What?
About
You're not going to
Underground.
read the spoilers on this one?
I tell you what, Chris, this is one of the worst things. Because I know you guys try to take steps to keep things under wraps when you're doing your television tape. You try to keep your audience to keep this to yourself. But stuff still gets out, and you go to some of these sites that compile all these ring results, and they'll be putting the results up for Lucha Underground. I had to basically divorce myself from these websites for half the year because I didn't want to spoil myself.
And I think that's a good thing, at least. But I will say the one thing that I think we have the advantage of is that nobody knows what happens in our backstage scene. So only we know. Only a handful of people know. So at least even the people who come to the show and watch it live, they go home and watch it, and they're like, "Oh my God, I had no idea that's why that happened." And I think that kind of makes it a little bit more fun and less spoiler free, even if you read them. Some people can't help themselves.
No, Mike.
Definitely.
Hey, I categorically did not read spoilers on Lucha Underground.
No.
I will read spoilers for TNA because at this point, does it really matter?
Might as well, totally.
But yeah, no, there was a podcast I listened to that went to one of the guys went to Ultima Lucha. I turned off the podcast immediately and asked them you're not spoiling anything, right? Because I will not listen to the rest of the show if you're going to spoil anything. But yeah, they didn't spoil anything. And the backstage, if you went to a taping, you don't even know Black Lotus exists in the world.
Yeah, pretty much. You just know that there was a beautiful Chinese girl in the audience for about a few weeks. That's about it. Otherwise, you've never seen her again. If you only went to the tapings, you don't know that there's a Matanza. There's just there's lots of different things. You don't know that there's a El Dragon Azteca. So that was pretty amazing that we just had a complete storyline that never ever went into the ring the entire season. Sometimes I wonder how.
I do have a question about Matanza. You don't have to spoil anything. I'm just because I'm assuming this was all planned out with Matanza and everything. Did you already have someone in mind for it and already had him slot a person slotted in, or is that just a placeholder for?
Well, we had a few people slotted in. Originally, Matanza was supposed to come out in episode 9, come out of the cage. Originally, there were a lot of things that happened, and fortunately for me, I think, and I look back on it as a super blessing, we had a few talents that couldn't get across the border with their visas and had some visa issues, so we were forced to change our storylines and go to Prince Puma versus Johnny Mundo on the first night, and as a result, everything changed, and it really, I think, in a way, helped big time with our storytelling and kind of pushed us to think a little bit differently. So it was a blessing in disguise, and I thank God every day that it happened, because I think if we would have done some of the stuff we originally would have done, it wouldn't have turned out as good. And then eventually, once we had Matanza in the cage for a little while, it's hey, let's just not let him out yet. Let's just keep keep the intrigue going and just keep him in there. And so that's been that's been a fun thing to do. But yeah, it was originally he was supposed to come out a lot earlier, and now we're kind of he finally got out at the last episode.
Awesome. So he was supposed to be like a big in-ring part of the show.
Yeah, in the very beginning, he was supposed to just come out right away, and I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Because I swear, I've been fantasy booking so many different people, like it could be from Matanza, and I've been looking into AAA, just seeing like who could this possibly be.
We had somebody in mind at the beginning, but then kind of changed our mind once we decided to keep the monster in the cage. So I'll let you can speculate all you want, but yeah. And then we decided on somebody else.
So Matt,
I'm so relieved to know that there is an actual guy who will be able to at least portray Matanza. I'm so worried about. They don't have anybody. They don't have a guy. They're bringing us along here.
I could be lying, but I'm not.
I don't mind. It's okay. Who's your favorite character from Lucha Underground?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. I mean, I love Pentagon. I do. I love Drago a real lot. He uses nunchucks.
When he pulled out the nunchucks in that match with Hernandez, lost my damn mind.
Yeah, he came up to me and was like, "Hey, can I use my nunchucks?" And I was just like, "Yes." You can I'm like, I was so mad at myself that I didn't think of it. I'm like, "Yes, of course you can use your nunchucks." So that was pretty cool. I love him. I think there's a part of me that loves Angelico Evilise and Son of Havoc. They just kind of became the lovable losers of Lucha Underground, the ultimate underdogs. And I know people sometimes call them like Team Three's Company or something like that, or I've heard all sorts of names about them.
I like to call them Team Dysfunct Trios.
Oh, that's good. That's pretty clever. But I like them. I like everybody. I don't know. Bengala. Really like Bengala. Really like him.
The mighty Bengala.
The mighty Bengala from the jungle.
Yeah.
Obviously, all of us here have definitely gushed a lot about stuff that's happened on Lucha Underground. From your perspective of being an executive producer, what is your proudest achievement, I guess you could say, from season one? The thing that you were most happy with what you produced?
Oh, the thing that I was most happy to produce, a second season. So
yes.
It was nice to know that I could get another job. Probably that. I think Aztec Warfare is something that I'm pretty proud of. I think that was kind of a turning point for us a little bit. It was something that we took a concept and kind of, I think, in a way, improved on it. That was something that took a lot of time and a lot of thought, and I was pretty happy with it. It was something that a match concept kind of twist on it that Chris Roach, who also writes a show with me along with this guy Matt Stolen, but me and Roach years ago were kind of coming up with ideas because we were going to have a meeting to work for TNA, and we were just coming up with some ideas, and it was one of the ones that we kind of thought of, and then then TNA told us that they passed. So yeah. But that's cool.
Not a smart.
Speaking of concept that you guys kind of improved on, the Aztec medallions.
Yeah. The seven ancient Aztec.
The seven ancient Aztec medallions. Excuse me. It was such a fabulous long build, and for us to realize that it's kind of like Money in the Bank, but it's not. And Dario wants to promote the match whenever it happens. Like, is it fun being able to kind of take the concepts that have been established for years by other companies like WWE and stuff like that, and not really poke at the concept, but just like get a little dig or two in there?
Absolutely, 100%. I love to take little shots that I kind of can. I think a lot of people do on the show. It's a little personal, probably for me, but more than others. But it's a it's a fun thing to do. And we'll just try to do something different. And I thought, the concept of these coins that can be redispersed, and it just always gives you something to fight for. And that's something that we try to do at least in every match. And I think that's something that helps make us, I think, at least compelling television to watch sometimes, because oftentimes when you watch WWE, there's a match that just is there and it doesn't mean anything. So we try to give every match stakes, meaning, whether it's a personal rivalry or whether something's on the line. That was something that from the very beginning that we thought was a super important thing to always have.
Yeah, because even Dario mentioned that, like with Jack Evans and I want to say Bengala.
No, Argenis.
Argenis, yeah. And Dario was like, "This match doesn't mean anything, so let's put one of the medallions on the line." Like,
yeah, we just went out and just said it. Like, nobody really cares about this match. Let's make it interesting.
But that's such a subversive way to go about it, and I kind of wish more companies would like take the lead on that. Like, it's a great way of looking at it because it doesn't treat your fans like idiots.
Yeah, man. Like a medallion would have done so much for like Orton and Sheamus for that long period there in the summer, right?
Well, I don't know. Sheamus already has the briefcase.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Bobby of J-Town is wondering, what is your favorite match so far you guys have had?
Oh, gosh. Grave Consequences is my favorite match that we've so far. I mean, that was just that was one where I was like standing in the back, just like, marking out myself. Like, I felt like a fan. I'm like, oh my God. I was just jumping up and down backstage and like, I knew some of the things that we're going to do because we kind of planned some of the stuff, like take the casket, take the rope off, put the casket in the ring, do some of the stuff with the casket. I knew all that. I knew we were going to rip the mask, but I never expected like Mill to bite Phoenix's face and chew on his face and spit out his blood. It was incredible to be there, and then incredible to just get to watch it again. Like, that was one of the things I was most excited about. I was like, when we're editing the shows, we're working with the editors, I just kept waiting. I'm like, God, I can't wait till we get to that episode. I think it was episode 19, I think. I was like, please, I can't wait to get to it. I can't wait to get to it. So that was a once-in-a-lifetime type of match, and those guys just, I think, made themselves that night. I mean, incredible. I mean, they were bleeding on the people in the crowd. I mean,
oh, jeez.
There were people that were just horrified, taking pictures of their chairs that just had, drips of blood all over them. And I don't know. I just think overall the presentation of it and the build to it was pretty good. And I think people wonder, like, what are they doing? Is Katrina with Phoenix? Like, I don't know. Like, why are they doing this? But, I think in the end, it paid off, and then you got obviously Monster Mil Muertes after that. New reborn Mil Muertes.
Black Pants Mil Muertes.
Yes.
Bobby of J-Town freaked out as soon as he saw Black Pants.
Yeah, I gotta say, dude, I was like pushing to get rid of the pajamas, but so it was nice that he finally got some black pants. He was tired of sleeping.
Bobby's also asking in the chat room, who came up with the unique opportunities concept?
Oh, that was Chris Roach. He came up with the thing about like a unique opportunity, and then we just kind of started rolling with it and using it. And we just thought that like Dario Cueto is the kind of person that would give you something good, and then it always has something bad can happen to you in return for giving you something good. So it's kind of a beautiful, sadistic, nasty thing that only Dario Cueto can get away with and do. So he's in a way here, take a bite of this, but it might poison you. So yeah, that's a cool thing.
Mike, you had something?
Yeah. Now, I was watching Ultima Lucha again just to prepare for this. When Dario grabbed the giant red beetle, does that have any kind of significance?
It's a bull.
It's a bull? Okay. I couldn't tell from the angle.
He grabs the bull by the balls,
Okay. Okay. I was just making sure because I didn't know if that was like a choice that he made to just run back in and grab something or...
Yes, it was. It was a choice that he made to grab that, and there's a reason why he did.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
I love the attention to detail because it dragged us in all throughout the season where some little thing would happen, and we'd be on the midweek war, and we'd be agonizing over this one stupid little thing that happened. Like, why did Dario pick up his glass that way when he could have done it that way? I don't know. They'll explain it. That was the beauty of it. It was that as the season went on, is that I would say about a quarter of a way through the first season, that the trust had been earned to the point where we were like, okay, I know there's something to this, and I just want to go along for the ride, but I just want to know why this is happening, you know?
Yeah, we try to, do little details and little minor things that eventually pay off. Like I said, we want to reward the viewer for paying close attention. And there's still, I honestly believe I've listened to a bunch of different podcasts and people talk about the show. I literally believe that if you go, I think if you go back and watch an episode, you'll find something that you might not have seen if you go back and watch the season again.
I know that's something that our friend Garza's been doing. He went back and started watching some of the episodes from season 1 from the beginning, and like little things started to jump out, like things like El Dragon Azteca was like such a random thing for me at the beginning. I almost didn't even notice him, but he's like this huge part of the whole first season.
Yeah, and the guy in the hoodie in the very beginning, people thought he was Prince Puma, but at the end you see that it's a different person, and he puts on the mask. So that was always kind of part of the story too.
All right. Hey, so like I said, this has been a big part of the midweek war since its inception, and kind of tongue in cheek about how there were so many wrestling shows on Wednesday night, including you guys. Does it feel like a war? It seems like some of them may be winding down at this point, but what's kind of your perceptive? Are you seeing like NXT and some of those other guys on some other network as competition at this point directly?
I don't really look at it as direct competition, but I do think it's a fun night of wrestling when there's all these hour-long shows on Wednesday nights. Like, to me, it was like the best night for wrestling, I think. With like NXT was real good, and ROH and Lucha Underground. It was good, and and then you had TNA too with I think they had a little. Did they have 2 hours? Yeah. So, I looked at it as like a positive thing. It made like it made like Wrestling Night in America again, but a different night of the but the midweek. And I think people like that, and I think people like to compare the shows, and I think that's cool that people do. I love when people are like, you know what, NXT won this week, or Lucha Underground won this week, and it's cool, and especially rewarding when you start piling up victories week after week after week. That makes me.
Yeah, definitely toward the end of the season, you guys start running away with it a little bit.
Yeah, you guys kind of torched them.
Right. So I just happened to be poking around at your IMDb a little bit, and Bobby's a big fan of Big Brother. And I understand you have some involvement. I'm not a watcher of it, but he is like, I think he had a podcast for a little bit. So he asked if you can save Jesse from TNA on it, and your thoughts on working with the program.
Well, first, I don't know if I can save Jesse from TNA, but I do love Jesse. He's a great guy. I'm not the only person who has worked on Big Brother or works on Big Brother that's part of Lucha Underground. Basically, everybody on my writing team, Matt Stolman, Chris Roach was the co-executive producer of Big Brother. Matt Stolman's a producer on the show. We all worked on Big Brother. So Big Brother is kind of a thing that we all kind of had in common, and it's a fun summer show. I've had involvement doing story, working on certain episodes, things like that. And if I have time off from Lucha, I would love to just go back and do that show again. It's just a fun summer job. It's like summer camp. So if I could get a little time, I would go do that and then come back to Lucha. So we'll see what happens and how things play out.
That's good, because I remember you were frequent, if I recall, on the We Want Wrestling podcast with Dave Lagana, who's also been on the other portion of the show.
I think I was only on it one time, and we were drinking a lot.
I think I remember that too. But I remember that was always really interesting to me, because it was like you guys had a lot of discussion about writing for wrestling versus writing for TV, and I didn't know how much experience some of the guys, you and the other guys on the show, had in that case. What's the biggest departure when you're doing wrestling versus TV, general
Well,
TV.
I don't think a lot of people necessarily in TV understand wrestling
Right.
and understand wrestling psychology, understand why people do things the way they do, why they, and sometimes, even the cameramen, the producers, and other people that we brought into Lucha Underground would come from like Survivor, Amazing Race, Apprentice, Big Brother. They had never experienced kind of the world of wrestling. So I think it came as a bit of a shock to them, because I think a lot of people sometimes in different parts of Hollywood or entertainment look down on wrestling sometimes. And then when those people were involved in it, they were just amazed by the talent, by the storytelling, by the attention to detail, and by the true athleticism of those guys. So I think that's a little bit different. I mean, for me, making a TV show is making a TV show. It's a lot of hard work. Above all, I think the main thing is to make a good show no matter what. It all comes down to telling a story that people can invest in. And sometimes in Big Brother, you don't necessarily always have that opportunity, because it's not very scripted. You kind of take the moments and kind of make them. You have to take a 2-hour scene and basically tell that what happened in 2 hours in 2 minutes and put it on.
Right.
Because those people are living in a house 24/7, 365. So it's different in that aspect, but in the end, it really always just comes down to telling good stories.
All right. Well, Chris, you've been beyond generous with your time with us. We appreciate you hanging out here and geeking out with us. I don't want to just cut off Mike and Eamon. I want to give everyone a chance to ask one last question. I want to ask one last question to you. Just one off the wall Hail Mary question. since you've been stonewalling me on everything else and I've been enjoying it. Was Lucha Underground ever in the running to sign the Young Bucks?
I think we had talked to them a few times, but we never saw eye to eye. So as Big Rick says.
Right.
I like that.
Eamon, you wanted one more?
I'm actually gonna go with the one that we did on the Wrestling Mayhem show. Our big question for the week. Selfishly, if you could pluck anyone from WWE, TNA, anywhere to come into Lucha Underground, who would you most like to work with?
Oh gosh, man, that's a tough question. Could it be somebody that I've already worked with?
Absolutely.
And it has to be from somebody who's currently on a roster in WWE or TNA or any other wrestling.
I think we were pretty.
I'll just go. All right, Bryan Danielson. I would probably. That would probably.
I'm sure a lot of people would be very happy with that, but yes.
That would be a good one for me. I would like to work with him again.
And if you're looking for, go ahead.
I had a brief period of time of working with him in WWE, and I would love the opportunity to do it again.
That's awesome. Mike.
All right. Who were you most surprised with that got the biggest reaction in Lucha Underground Season 1? Like someone who you thought that, oh, this would be a fun little storyline, or this guy's good in the ring, but who really took off?
Probably I would say Son of Havoc. And I say that strictly because in the beginning he was I had a feeling that, if we continued him down this kind of losing streak and embarrassment streak, and he had the girlfriend and we did the thing, that it would work. But I never expected the people in the audience and in the crowd to embrace him so much. It was really the fans in the temple and really the work of Matt Cross, the Son of Havoc, that got that character to where it's at. And man, he just took off, and he's really I think he might be the most beloved person in there. It'll be interesting to see what happens this season when we bring people back, and now that everybody's watched the season, to see how people react to certain characters. But man, they loved him. They freaking loved that guy.
And yet he still has to sit bitch on a motorcycle.
Yeah. But that's funny, right?
Oh, yeah. It was perfect. It was you at least had one leg, and yet she's still driving.
Yeah, you just got to drive with your hands.
Jeez. That's great. What's with the voice?
That was just something that in post we just kind of decided to do and kind of make him a little more interesting and different. And it's just something that we did. And I think, I don't know, in a way it's charming and cool and silly, but
yeah,
it's Son of Havoc. So, you can do those kinds of things.
Awesome. So, hey, everybody knows what you're here to plug. Lucha Underground. It's coming up, season 2. When is stuff coming out? What can we look for? Are there any surprises in the meantime? Should we just be staying tuned to the social media in general? What is going on?
I would stay tuned to the social media for sure. We tape our first episodes, wrestling portions of them, starting November 14th. I'm really looking forward to that. We should be out sometime in 2016, hopefully early 2016, like really early 2016, I hope. And I think you can look forward to a lot of surprises, more questions, more great wrestling. And I think, I hope that we continue to remain unpredictable so that you think about what you think is going to happen at the very beginning of season 2 and we take you in a whole different direction. So hopefully we keep you on the edge of your seats. That's what we all strive to do on the show, and we just want to keep going and going, and hopefully we get season 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we can just keep making the show because it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to that.
I have one request from you guys. Next time I come on, can I get like a cool name, like I don't know.
Big Dick Johnson?
No, God, that's it.
Not to say that. He said we weren't going to say it.
I'm sorry. He asked for a cool nickname. I'm like, that's the easiest setup in the world.
Oh, man,
I couldn't help it.
I thought I was going to get through this one without that being
I couldn't help myself.
But once again, I'm proven wrong.
It's like when you see a big red button that says "Don't push."
Yeah, I've totally failed. So I just wanted a cool name, man. Sorry.
We will absolutely come up with a cool name. We will brainstorm this on the midweek war this week.
Okay, cool.
We will brainstorm this.
We're going to get our best and brightest on this right away.
Yes,
please.
And it will be in Spanish, and we will have Antonio Garza say it, and it'll have ours that will be rolled.
And that'll do it for Mad Mike.
I think I did for everything. Okay. So on that point, looks like we lost out the internet. But thank you, Chris DeJoseph, at Chris DeJoseph, at Lucha El Rey, at Mad Mike joining us, at Eamon 2, please. And of course, thank you to our mainstream friend, Mainstream Matt.
It was my pleasure. And thank you very much, Chris DeJoseph. And I apologize for Mad Mike blowing it for us at the end.
Yes. Or it killed the internet. It was so bad. So thank you, everybody. Check out WrestlingMayhemShow.com. Check out the show live at WrestlingMayhemShow.com. We do their interviews here about 11 p.m. Eastern time every week, more or less. And we'll see you guys next time. Support indie wrestling.
Sick, you know how I act now. If you got a problem, come and see if I'm a back down. Act wild, steady sipping Jack.
Show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.